Hello and welcome back, adventurers. This is Captain TTRPG, and today we're talking about Pathfinder 2nd Edition.
Hello and welcome back, adventurers. Today we are jumping into our rank 3 spells. That's right, top and bottom 5 rank 3. It's going to feel a little different from the rank 2 in that in rank 3 we finally get a little bit of an upgrade, especially around the AoE of spells. It's not maybe the jump, so for players of D&D 5e, I don't know that it's the same jump that you get from level 2 spells to level 3 spells over here. So it's definitely going to be a jump, but it may not be that drastic a jump. But I still think rank 3 is where we get a lot of really interesting spells, and we get the ability to blow people up. Lots of people. Which is probably not a huge surprise, because Fireball is still here in rank 3, as are other wide AoE spells. So let's go ahead and jump in here. As usual, we have our criteria. I don't break it down quite like I do in my other ranking videos. Just things that I think about here are number of actions, range, duration, targets, the effect, whether it's control, support, utility, damage, AoE damage, what the heightening looks like, if it has the incapacitation trait, which I know we got into last time, the ease of use, whether it's worth a prepared slot, whether it's worth having in your repertoire, whether it'd be worth having as a signature spell. And of course, is it good for a full caster? Is it better on a Gish? Is it better with just a free archetype on a Marshal? Things like that are things I keep in mind, even if I don't speak to them specifically. That all being said, let's go ahead and jump in here, as usual, doing my excited versus non-excited for best and worst. And starting off with a best, of course I have to include it here, and yes, it is actually worth the inclusion. It may not be the most significant spell of all time, but it is still a workhorse, and it does good work, and that is Fireball. Fireball here at 3rd rank is 2 actions, as you might expect. It's got Concentrate, Manipulate, and Fire, surprisingly enough. For Arcane and Primal casters, has a range of 500 feet, things to keep in mind, and is a 20-foot burst. The other big thing to keep in mind, right? Those are important to how good this spell actually is. It forces a reflex save on enemies against 6d6 fire damage, and every time you heighten it, it's 2d6 more damage. And this is kind of setting the platform here. There's no riders, right? It's just straight damage. It is straightforward. But what makes it significant is how big the area is. A 20-foot burst is massive. You can hit a lot of targets. It's a burst, which means you can place it better, right? When we have things like cones or lines, they certainly work, but they're harder to hit the targets you want most of the time. A burst, you can really set to hit who you want to hit. And then beyond that, the 500-foot range really makes a difference here as well, because a lot of times, especially early on, we might only have a 30-foot range, and for something like a 20-foot burst, that can be really problematic, probably going to hit a lot of allies. It's also just really hard to drop it early on. At a 500-foot range, you could start the combat from the entire map away and drop it on a bunch of enemies to start things off and watch them all explode and take some decent damage. It's just a good workhorse. It's not flashy. There's nothing crazy here to talk about. It is solid damage that scales well, that hits a large area, that's easy to place from whatever distance you're at. You want to stay away, drop bombs from distance. This is a really good way to do it. It is not the most powerful spell of all time, but it is significant and useful. Cup of Dust. This is 2 actions, has the Concentrate, Manipulate, and Curse traits. For Arcane, Occult, and Primal casters, has a range of 30 feet. You target 1 living creature, it gets a Fortitude save. On a crit success, nothing happens, and it's immune for 1 hour. On success, the creature is fatigued for 1 round, which is -1 to AC and saving throws. On a fail, it is fatigued for 1 day, and it takes 1d4 damage each hour. And in a crit fail, it is 2d4 damage for every hour. If you heighten it 3 spell ranks, you add an extra 1d4 damage per hour or 2d4 damage per hour on a crit fail. Is this useless? No. But it has struggles. Fatigue is a good condition to throw on an enemy. It's not crazy, but it is hard to get rid of here. Sickened and even Frightened can be worse debuffs in many ways, because you get the same thing and then there's more on top of it that get negatives too. But they're fairly easy to remove comparatively. But here's the thing. Most enemies that you're getting rid of, you're fighting them to get rid of them within 1 minute in a combat. Damage every hour is therefore pointless. A 1-day status effect is absolutely pointless. There are rank 1 and rank 2 spells that do as much for you in a combat encounter and are far easier to get a hold of and use a less valuable slot. Oh, this is nothing against undead. If you have an enemy that you're going to be fighting, long term, day after day, this is still not very good. Because you've now fatigued them. Yay. I mean, that's not useless for the day after day. But that 1d4 damage every hour, they're going to just recover every time it happens, like it didn't happen. So if it's a creature that you're fighting today and is going to run away, some boss that you're going to have to fight 7 times throughout your adventure, this still doesn't matter. I just can't figure out who this actually matters against. Haste. This is 2 actions, has the concentrate and manipulate traits for arcane, occult, and primal casters. A range of 30 feet, you target 1 creature. It lasts for 1 minute. That creature gains 1 extra action each turn to use for either stride or strike. If you heighten it to 7th rank, you target 6 creatures instead. This is useful for any character. For many, this opens up their class so that there are more opportunities to use all of their different actions. They're not as constrained. Bards, witches, animists can use their focus cantrips and full caster spells and still move around and reposition themselves. Martial characters can move between enemies and still strike. Again, this isn't flashy. It doesn't have lots of text, but it just gets the job done. The heighten, while expensive, let's be honest, a 7th rank slot is expensive, and it's competing with great spells, it still might be worth it, because giving your whole party this extra action every turn for an entire combat, again, having more actions than enemies is important, right? Action economy matters, and this is just such a good way to pull off action economy with no downside, solid all the way around. I really like Haste. Shift Blame. This is a reaction, has the enchantment and mental traits for arcane and occult casters, a range of 30 feet. The trigger is you or another creature attacks a creature or fails at a deception, diplomacy, or intimidation check. This has a will save attached to it. You try to convince the creature that got attacked or had the skill used against them that a different creature, in fact, did this to them. On a crit success, the creature knows you tried to change its memory. Not great. On a success, it doesn't know you tried to cast the spell, but nothing happens. And on a fail, you change the memory of the creature. This just feels like nothing, kind of. I try to think of the best case scenario. It's probably best when used in a social encounter, when an ally tries to deceive somebody, and you can use this to convince them that their ally did it or something. But just because you alter their memory doesn't mean that any action will be taken or that it'll lead to anything. I mean, even in that case, others in the room could just point out and say, no, it wasn't your friend there. They made you think that. In combat, it's just also unlikely to change hostile actions of enemies. Can you contrive a situation where, this creature thinks it was attacked by one of its allies and decides to go after them? Maybe, but I mean, you have to have them on pretty bad terms for that to be a thing. And it kind of requires the GM to be all bought in on wanting this to work. But really, even when the creature fails, I just don't think that it's going to lead to the outcome you think it will. It's not going to suddenly turn an enemy to your side or something. This is just a weird one, and I think often it'll be a spell slot used to do nothing. Wall of Shadow. 3 actions, has the concentrate, manipulate, and darkness traits for arcane and occult casters, a range of 30 feet, lasts for 1 minute. You create a 60-foot long, 10-foot wide, or tall, however you want to look at it, wall of darkness. Creatures on each side without dark vision can't see through it. You can use this to hide from creatures that are on the other side, because they can't see through it. If heightened to 5th rank, you make this so that creatures with dark vision have a hard time seeing through it, therefore everybody's concealed to them. And if you go up to 7th rank, then even creatures with greater dark vision have a hard time seeing through it, and all creatures are concealed to them. Vision is extremely important in the game. A caster has to have line of sight to cast a lot of spells. A melee ranged character has to be able to at least know where a target is to even attempt to strike. I mean, they can be hidden, and then they have to, again, beat a flat check just to target you. Placing this wall well means that either enemies are going to have to sit around and do nothing, waiting for you to act and come through the wall, or more likely, they're going to want to come through the wall after you. This allows your team to prepare and even set traps for them to come through the wall. This is even more powerful if you separate enemy ranks. So you cast the wall so that some enemies are on the far side, some enemies on your side. Great, now you've separated minions from a boss or a caster. You leave the caster way out there, force a caster to walk through a wall if they want to support their allies or if they want to do anything to you. And it means that you can have your melee up at the wall, ready for when they come through to deal some serious damage. Yes, it doesn't physically stop anybody from walking through, but if they want to take actions, assuming you know whether or not they have dark vision, this can be a great way to do intelligent battlefield control in a different kind of way than we see with like full-on solid walls. Claim Curse. 2 actions, Necromancy, for divine and occult casters, with the range of touch, with 1 creature afflicted by a curse. You touch the curse creature and take the curse from them for 5 minutes. Hooray, your ally is curse-free for 5 minutes. That you are now cursed. If timed perfectly, can this be helpful to an ally and keep them alive? Potentially. But how often is your team getting cursed? 1. And then how often is taking a curse for 5 minutes meaningful in any significant way? Yes, you may not have a way to just get rid of curse right now. But this is a really strange way to try to help somebody. A temporary reprieval from a curse is not a long-term solution at all, and you may in fact hurt yourself, so now 2 party members are in a bad place instead of just 1. It's a strange hot potato situation that's got limited uses, and I just can't imagine ever wanting to prepare this or have it in my repertoire or something I plan to use a lot. I don't even know if I would use it on a wand. Boy, this one, again, it's just something I can't see being useful, because in its best case scenario, it's extremely mildly helpful. Bone Flense. 2 actions. Has a Concentrate, Manipulate, and Rare traits. Is for Arcane, Divine, and Primal casters. Has a range of touch and 1 weapon. Lasts for 1 minute. Strikes with the weapon. Do an extra 1d6 persistent bleed damage. You can use a reaction, which is called Erupting Spurs, 1 time while the spell is going. When a creature is about to take bleed damage from this spell, you can instead force that creature to make a fortitude save against 6d6 piercing damage, and then of course that would end the spell after they take it. Persistent damage is solid, and tossing it on a weapon that can already deal it to multiple creatures over time means it's going to get a lot of value if you want to split it out like that. Having no save on the bleed damage, I mean, they get a save, when they take the damage at the end of their turn, and then they have a save. But I mean, like, no save up front. You just take it when you get hit by the weapon. Means you're always going to get some kind of value out of this, which also feels good, assuming you hit them, that is. The reaction makes for a great finisher. You've hurt a creature, your team's worked on it, they've ticked down, you've got bleeds on a few people, but you know this creature's pretty low health. Boom, you pop it. The reaction then just kills them, potentially. And while you can't guarantee that they die, because there, is a save here, you can target it to go off on a creature with a bad fortitude save. So you've gone around and hit multiple creatures, and it's the caster that you're bleeding out. And when they tick, yes, the caster feels like somebody you want to take a bunch of damage. They usually have terrible fortitude saves. Great. Hit them with the 66, see what happens. I like that there's a choice and timing involved, making this rewarding. It's got tactical application, and it makes you feel like you know how the battle's going and you know how best to affect it. So I like that there's a lot of choice on your part, but there's a lot of lasting effect here as well if you want there to be. Feat to Fins. 2 actions. Concentrate, Manipulate, and Morph traits. Arcane and Primal casters take this one. Has a range of touch, and it's for 1 willing creature. Lasts for 10 minutes. The creature gains a swim speed equal to their speed, and their land speed becomes 5 feet. You can heighten to 6th strength and it lasts until the next daily prep. You get a swim speed. How could this be bad? I mean, if you need a swim speed now, great, you've got one. It doesn't let you breathe underwater, so keep that in mind. That's a different spell. So you have to stay on the surface, you know, fine. You're in water, maybe that's okay. But you better be sure you have to stay in water that whole 10 minutes, because there is no ending this early. Keep in mind, spells in Pathfinder 2e, unless they tell you you can end them early, don't end early. This is lasting the whole 10 minutes. If you end up on land before the end of that 10 minutes, you are now stuck with a 5-foot movement speed. Awesome. So if you end up on land, you're going nowhere. And if you use the 6th rank version, which sounds horrible, you're stuck with this for the whole day. You better be in water the whole day, because otherwise you're in all kinds of trouble. If this had just been gaining a swim speed for the duration, and that was it, yeah, this has good use, and I would trust it as a spell, and I would like it. As it stands, it's penalizing you in a way that doesn't seem to make sense to me to gain a swim speed for a long duration that you may not even want. And what's funny to me is the creature had to be willing. They don't even know what they're necessarily willing to do. When you say, hey, do you want a swim speed? Boom, you have it. Now you just can't walk around. I mean, you can, but you're dawdling. Good luck. They will never trust you again. Warding Aggression. 2 actions. Abjuration is for arcane, divine, and primal casters. Lasts up to 1 minute. You make a melee strike against a creature as part of casting the spell. So it's 2 actions. Part of that is making a strike. Depending on the outcome of the strike, you get different bonuses. This ends early if your enemy dies, or if on one of your turns you don't hit the enemy with a melee strike. On a critical success with your strike, you get a +3 status bonus to your AC against that creature for a round, and then a +2 for the duration of the spell. On a success, it's just a +2 AC bonus for the duration of the spell. If you fail your strike, you still get a +1 bonus to your AC for the duration of the spell against that creature. And on a crit fail, though, nothing happens. So probably use that hero point. This is a really cool Gish spell, and that's what I like about it. I don't bring this up a lot, but I do try to bring in Gish spells here and there, and I really like this one for a Gish, especially against a creature that's got more hit points. Whether you're a caster Gish or a melee marshal taking caster archetypes, this is going to feel good. It doesn't rely on a save from your enemy at all. It's all on your attack roll, so the better your attack is, the more chances you're going to get the value out of this. It uses what you already want to do. You're making a melee strike with it, so you're not like, ooh, do I choose between casting a spell and using a strike? You're just making that strike, which is great. That AC bonus is significant. Even just the +2 on a successful strike is that's a +2 for the whole minute against this creature. You can actually stand there toe-to-toe against a creature, fighting them like this, and your chance of being crit or hit goes down by 10% just because you have this active. If you get that +3 per round, that's crazy. But in any case, this is a great way to either force that creature to go after you with a lower chance of hitting you, or try to leave you and go somewhere else, and then you can chase them down and beat them down while they try to go somewhere they aren't penalized. So there's a little bit of control to it, but mostly it's just, this is a great way to go toe-to-toe with something with a lot of hit points and survive it. And for a lot of big melee marshals, you want that ability to stay alive, especially if you play one of the near marshals that don't usually have as many hit points. They can use this to help shore up their defenses a little bit and keep themselves relevant for a little bit longer in the fight. Elemental Annihilation Wave. 2 actions, all the way up to 2 rounds. Yes, it can be 2 actions, 3 actions, or 2 rounds. Has the Air, Earth, Evocation, Fire, and Water traits for Arcane and Primal casters. The range is going to vary, but it's going to start off with a 30-foot cone. We'll explain it. As reflex saves for everybody in the area, you deal 4d6, 1d6 fire, and 3d6 bludgeoning damage in a 30-foot cone. And that's the 2-action version. This is basic reflex saves. The 3-action version is still a 30-foot cone, but on a fail, a creature is pushed 5 feet back, and on a crit fail, it is knocked 10 feet back and falls prone. And if you spend 2 whole rounds, 3 actions the first round, 3 actions the second round, it becomes like the 3-action version, except it's a 60-foot cone, and afterwards the area has the Gust of Wind spell active, making it hard for enemies to approach you for a round. If you heighten this 2 spell ranks, it goes up by 1d6 fire and 3d6 bludgeoning, and increases your push by 5 feet or 10 feet. So let's start off with, we talked about Fireball. This damage is pathetic. We have Fireball doing 50% more damage than this, right? This is 46, that's 66. So there's already that. Then, a 30-foot cone is way harder to place well to hit enemies than a 20-foot burst is. Finally, you look at the cost. The 2-action version is just bad damage. That's all it is. It's just bad damage. It's just the worst AoE damage we have at this rank. If you go up to 3, right, so 3 actions now, you get to add a push on fail and crit fail. Crit fail, I don't look at those outcomes very much. They come up, but it's so rare, I don't worry about it. So you're adding basically a 5-foot push for an extra action. Okay? That's not the rider you want. Finally, it tries to tempt you into spending 2 whole turns dedicating yourself to this. You spent 2 whole turns to do 4d6 damage in a 60-foot cone, which, again, everybody's going to be moving around. Maybe you had a decent cone set up the first round, and now you have nothing set up well. You're going to hit a bunch of allies for no damage, because it's terrible damage. And you can also make it so that creatures have a harder time getting up to you for a round. I mean, just all of that is bad. Use the 2 rounds to maybe cast 2 fireballs and move around twice? I don't know. Do something other than this. This is just a waste, and the fact that it's got a 2-round option is straight up a trap in my mind. Okay, so that is my top and bottom 5 for rank 3, but as you know, I got to toss in a few honorable mentions here, and I'm going to talk about a few upcasting options that I think are really valuable to consider when you're thinking about your slots, what you might want to upcast into those slots from 1st and 2nd rank spells. But first, our honorable mentions. Agonizing Despair. This is a solid single target damage, which I didn't really talk about. Has a Frighten effect rider for Arcane Divine and Occult casters. Then there's Blister Bomb, which is a pretty brutal AoE damage disease effect. It's a small burst, but it is pretty sick if it lands, and it's for Arcane and Primal casters. Then we have Cozy Cabin, which is a great utility spell for creating a safe resting place for you and the party while out adventuring for Arcane and Occult casters. And Heroism, which is a single target +1 buff to all checks for 10-minute spell for Divine and Occult casters. There are so many great 3rd rank spells that even this doesn't get close to all the ones that I ranked high on my list. There are so many good ones, but these are a couple, again, that I would consider, and it really depends on what you're trying to build toward. As far as good upcast options, 3rd rank is where Fear gets really powerful, where you can choose 5 creatures in 30 feet that you can target. And remember, that's not like a cone or anything, you just choose. They have to be in 30 feet of you, just this one, this one, and you can frighten them all. Heal is always a good one. Heal is one of those spells that I suggest in your repertoire, assuming you are that support player, that I would just make one of my signature spells, because it's always good for upcasting. So I could keep saying heal is good for upcasting. It's always good for upcasting. Heal is a good spell. It's worth it. And Dehydrate is an interesting spell to upcast. This is for Arcane and Primal casters, and it isn't amazing at rank 1, but increases really significantly and has great heightening, and at rank 3 is actually a really solid spell. So while I didn't mention Dehydrate down at rank 1, by 3rd rank, it's actually really good. So think about what you might want to use there. And that's it. Which rank 3 spells do you like to take on all of your builds? Did I throw one of your favorites into my bottom 5? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, adventure on.